Welcome to the GenX Experience, the podcast that celebrates the unique journey of 80s kids navigating midlife. I'm your host, Blythe Alperin. Each episode, my guests and I will share with you the unique differences that define our generation and how we are navigating those differences in the real world. Join me for laughs, insights, and a sense of community. Let's embrace the GenX Experience together. Welcome back to the GenX Experience. We are on episode 34. You would think I would know this, even numbers. I'm not good at math, and apparently just remembering the numbers of my episode, kind of a challenge. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. We are continuing our series on talking about Gen X and mental health. And today we're really focusing on the women of our group, of our generation. If you are a man, you should still listen to this. This does apply to you, and the information we provide is helpful, that my guest provides. So we're going to talk about, with my guest, I talk about like the challenges of being the I got it generation and being overwhelmed and stressed. Not that any other generations don't have stress. We all have stress at different times of our life, different journeys. It doesn't matter whether we're silent Gen or Gen Alpha, we all have stresses. But we're going to specifically talk about Gen X and women and how we deal with this and ways to make time for yourself so you don't feel the burnout and setting boundaries. So let's get into it. We are going to be talking today to my guest, Jenny Cheifetz. And she is a life and breathwork coach at Jentle Coaching. That's Jentle with a J. She lives in New Hampshire with her husband, 2 children, and 2 dogs. She energizes busy, no bullshit women to take back their power, reignite their passions, and step off the sidelines, guiding clients toward finding their authenticity is a cornerstone of her work. Her clients want to feel calm, confident, free, and excited about life. And yes, as a woman, I totally agree with that. Jenny helps them learn strategies for managing stress and creating balance so they don't get buried in work or family and actually make time for themselves guilt-free. In addition to coaching and facilitating workshops, Jenny leads a community on Facebook, and she is the host of the Sidelines Sisters podcast that showcases stories of badass yet relatable women doing really cool stuff in the world. The podcast is available on YouTube and all other apps. And all of her information, links to her podcast, her YouTube, her coaching website, etc., will be in the show notes. I hope you will go check out her podcast. I mean, we all need to listen to podcasts featuring badass women. And Gen X women are badass, in my humble opinion. No, I'm not going to say humble. In my opinion, brag about our generation. Let's brag about our generation. Anyway, enough of my rambling. Let's get into my episode with Jenny. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jenny. Jenny, I should say it's just me. So thank you for joining me today, but we do have an audience. So thank you for joining, I guess, us. The brain sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, which kind of leads into our conversation of like Gen X and mental health, especially focusing on women, because we try to do way too much. We try to multitask. We're the I got it generation, and we're really bad about asking for help. And I think that sometimes is why we have jumbled talking issues.
Yes, it is. All of that.
So I was thinking about why we're the got it generation. And I think, correct me if you think I'm wrong or disagree, I think part of it is because, our mothers were silent Gen and boomers, and they were, a lot of them were like the first generation, like really working, and they would tell us like, you could have it all, you could have a job and, like a real career and kids and all that. It's, you can do everything. When in reality, that's not true. So I feel like we were set up for, I don't want to say failure, but kind of failure.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah. I mean, I even remember being, I'm not sure if I was I must have been out of college working at this point. But I was engaged. I was getting married. And I remember meeting with my financial advisor, tax advisor, and she started asking me questions about whether I was going to continue working after I had a family. Now, the disclaimer is I was a teacher. So financially, would it make sense for me to continue working and pay for childcare? That's the constant dilemma. when where I was working, the district was so low pay that it was nonsense. I mean, when you did the math of one child, it was kind of maybe I was bringing home like $100 after all was said and done. Throw two kids into daycare, forget about it. It was actually a loss. So I remember her asking me and my response being, well, of course I'm going to continue working. I mean, what wouldn't be fulfilling about staying home? No. What would be fulfilling? No, I absolutely have to continue working. It, and I didn't. That's the funny thing is I did stop working again, ran the numbers, and also felt like I comprehended how much I was putting into my job and realized I don't know how anyone says that teaching is the ideal mom job, because anyone who's doing either one of those decently couldn't do the other one. But that's just my opinion. I was putting so much into my job that I knew the home would suffer, and if I actually cared about my home, then the job would suffer. And neither one of those was okay with me. But going back to what you said, I don't know where. I actually don't think it was at home. I think it was more college, my peers that were propelling this idea of do everything. So I was conditioned to think, well, you don't just stay home with a kid. Like, that's so old fashioned.
Right.
When,
Yeah, because I remember my mom talking about like women of her generation would go. She was the tail end of silent generation that some would go to college to get their MRS degree,
yes, yep, right.
and that was, yeah, that was unheard of in our generation. Like you went to college, you wanted a degree, maybe advanced degrees, you were going to work. There was no question that you were going to have your career, and even maybe delay having kids because you
Mhm.
wanted to build that career. And then you get into the world, you're like, okay, this is some nonsense. I don't know how I'm going to do all this. And even like I didn't get to have kids, but I even saw the effects of just being a single woman. I worked in advertising. I mean, I still do, but I worked in the advertising agency world, and the way that women were treated. And then even if they had kids, like they would take advantage of the women that didn't have kids, and the guys just did whatever. They wanted to take time off, they took
Or
time off. They wanted to leave early, they left early.
or the
And
ones that had kids felt compelled to take a very short maternity leave and come back
yep.
ill prepared to balance everything.
Yeah, and and I will say, not all men don't help, because my brother and my brother-in-law are definitely not, they are participation, and like they do all the things. They're not perfect, of course, because nobody is, but there are still men in our generation who are, just in my dating experience, why I put it on hold is because they're looking for a mommy, and I'm like, dude, I'm already doing enough stuff for myself. I don't want to. I want a partner. So it's like this very like we just had all these messages from our parents, from society, from going to college, from our peers. And then when you become in the real world, you're like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to make
Right.
it work.
Hmm. Yeah. And do I have the creativity to come up with my own plan? Is it okay? Will I be accepted? Can I design something new that hasn't been, I don't know, taught to me yet?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I own my own business. I know that you are a coach as well and have your own business. Is it, what made you decide to take your own path? Was it because being in the world of teaching and you're like, I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it, even though it's not that simple, but
Correct. Yeah. For sure. The timing of my firstborn worked really well with me leaving the classroom. So it was a kind of seamless ish transition from the classroom to home. But, shout out to all the working moms, the working women out there. I did not last that long being home with a baby before I was like, oh my God, where's my brain? What am I doing all day long? There'd be, I remember one time making like a bowl of oatmeal or something and put it in the microwave in the morning. And it was there at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon because the day just got sucked up with baby stuff. And so it wasn't that long before someone in a baby group suggested some multi-level marketing idea. It went from, I bounced around a few of those, but I needed something. I did. I mean, there are wonderful women out there who excel at motherhood and that fills their soul completely. I was not one of those people. I needed something of my own. Uh, but the idea of going back to the classroom or something similar felt like prison. Like I couldn't do that. That was way too confining
Mhm.
and just way too many you know um obstacles and rules for me to follow. So, like I said, I dabbled around the multi-level marketing thing. Then I started my own home-based dessert business.
Mm.
And I honestly can't even remember how that happened, the detail. I mean, well, I think I was always a fan of making things. As soon as Food Network started back in our childhood,
Mhm.
when it was just, I think, Emerald, um, I was always watching food shows. And then, of course, once it expanded into way more than we could imagine, it was a bit of an obsession and getting, Martha Stewart Living. And, there was just so much
Yeah.
inspiration. So I had made a cake for someone and she's like, this is so good. Why are you just giving this away? You should sell these, those classic words that have launched so many businesses.
Right.
You should charge for this or you should sell that. So I did. That was the spark for my first two entrepreneurial ventures. And it really was just to do something, do something else besides mothering.
Right. And I think that's also a challenge in our generation and maybe the generations behind us, maybe not so much, or hopefully I know like Gen Z is trying to change things, more power to them. Um, but I think like, yeah, as women too, like, if you want to just be a mom, sometimes you get shamed for that. And there's nothing wrong if that's what you want to do. Like that is, one of the most amazing jobs to have, whether you
Sure.
work or not. And then if you don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, then you're shamed for that too.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Like I know I actually feel like I should, put a protective layer over my house right now because someone might come after me that I said motherhood wasn't enough. Like the shame.
Yeah, and I mean, at least we have the option. I mean, women didn't have the option for the longest time. Granted, they're trying to shift us back there, but I mean, they really like that was your whole goal is to get married and have a husband and have kids and the white picket fence. And that's not a fairy tale either, unless, I mean, if that's what you want, that's your fairy tale. But there's so many mixed messages. And now, as you mentioned with childcare, you do hear so many stories, especially after the pandemic, of a lot of couples having to decide, like, do we have a dual income household? Because all we're doing is paying for childcare with one of our incomes. Maybe it makes more sense to give up working. And of course, it
Yeah.
usually falls on the woman unless she's the breadwinner,
Right.
which that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
right, like
Part
it's
two.
so yeah, it's. I feel like our mothers like were trying to set us up to like they wanted us to take what they did and go to the next level, but that doesn't mean it was easy or is easy. And I wonder like how our generation is helping, millennials, Gen Z, I guess, and Gen Alpha as well. Like, are we teaching our girls the same thing that we learned? And can we change it? Because like we're still pushing against, the patriarchy, corporate culture, and
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
yeah, it's.
Yeah.
But so do you think, especially because we're all in midlife, the oldest of us is turning 60 this year or has turned 60 this year, and the youngest of us is in our mid to late 40s. Do you think we're more stressed out than previous generations?
Probably not. just different stress. If we think of like the what's her name? June Cleavers,
Mm.
those type were probably overwhelmed with having to not actually speak their overwhelm.
Right.
So feel the overwhelm of needing to get finished with the ironing and have have the roast in the oven and the house spick and span, all those things, all while looking like she stepped out of a fashion magazine.
Yeah.
So there was, I'm sure that generation felt it, and I'm sure it will continue because, I was just writing a newsletter in preparation of a workshop on planning that, and this is what I feel like it boils down to, is nobody has coping skills. So there's always going to be stress. There's
Yes.
always going to be, we're not going to breed a new species that doesn't feel stress or the desire to succeed and excel and achieve stuff. I think that's just going to be part of humanity. But when those feelings of trying to perform and grab and get become too much and we experience the overwhelm and leading to burnout, where are the coping skills? Who has those? Who's teaching those? Where where are women learning how to deal with overwhelm so that they don't have a closet drinking problem or a late night shopping problem? That's where I'm seeing the disconnect, is that there's always stress. But think back to those previous generations. I think a lot of those people drank.
Yeah.
A lot of those women drank, and it was probably normalized. Like, think about, it wasn't just a man having a scotch after work. She was having her little, martini or her delicate little drink right alongside. So I just think our problem is nobody knows how to cope
Right.
with the burdens of life.
It's true. And I mean, especially, just from the Gen X perspective, like we were just told that that's how life is. Life's not fair. I'm glad you have feelings. I don't care.
Yeah, but they're not really desired in this
Yes.
scenario. So go to your room, maybe.
Right. Yeah. And, you have anxiety or depression. Like, we're not going to talk about mental health at all. And if you do have an issue, it was like your fault and there was something wrong with your character, not just maybe it was your chemical makeup or the
Right.
situation that you're dealing with. Because I'm sure boomers and silent gen, women and men, suffered from depression, anxiety, whether it was because of world events like wars or because as women, your opportunities were so limited that you just had to be quiet and just take it. So internalizing all of that is not healthy. Well, of course, when we were kids, they were like, well, my life's just this way. So I want you to do better, but I don't know how to tell you to cope with it.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, there was a lot of cliches and adages around suck it up, buttercup,
Yep.
don't act like such a girl, uh, sticks and stones, a lot of those rules to live by that did not serve us.
No. And like we were allowed to cry until you got in the corporate world, but then men are not allowed to cry. So then you have, they're calling us emotional. I'm like, have you seen men? Like they're emotional, but they're not allowed to express it. We're supposed to express it, but only to a certain extent. So like we're all just in like this jumbled mess of not knowing how to cope with our feelings. And, I mean, yes, the feelings aren't facts. It is relevant sometimes because sometimes you feel some way and that's not what's actually happening. You're just too in yourself. But sometimes the feelings you have are because things are not good. And
Hmm.
it's okay to say, hello, I need help. I don't need to be. And I'm guilty of this still, like, because I'm single and the oldest child of three. Like, I'm the I got it girl. Still,
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm going to be 51 in a couple months. Like, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. And I just feel like our generation definitely struggles with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you work with women to kind of help them move past that or figure out a way
Yeah.
to directly either ask for help, but also I was reading on your website to like find something to put your passion into creativity. So you're not just like work, kids, work, kids, work, kids.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, It took me a long time of doing, I don't know, self work to get to this point. So I wish for every woman that I come across that I could just snap my fingers and say, do this. Just sit on the couch, have a meal, have a bowl of something that is nourishing, and put a show on, or go for a walk and listen to music or a podcast. And it's not for exercise, but it's just for well-being. uh I wish I could just instantaneously give that gift to people, but when you've been conditioned to do and pile on the tasks and check all the boxes, it is reconditioning that.
Yeah, because even this weekend, my friend and I were that I'm watching her dog. We were texting, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I took my dog out, and then I came back inside and put my pajamas on, and I'm having a lazy Saturday." And even just typing that, it's like,
Can I do
why do
that?
I feel
Can I
guilty? Because
right?
sometimes doing absolutely nothing is the exactly what you need, and you don't, that is doing something. You just need to
Mhm.
relax, binge watch whatever, read a
Yes.
book, lay on the couch,
Yes.
and yeah, I mean, like, we need different vocabulary. Like, I'm having a me day or whatever it is, like,
Right,
and not
right.
feeling guilty.
Yeah. And not worrying about the judgment of others when we say that, like you
Yes.
might have felt. I remember, and I've told this story either in my own content or on other podcasts, where I remember years and years ago, I mean, it was probably about 15 years ago, I was in a book group, and there was a woman in my group who, you know, from first glance, looked well to do. She looked like a kept woman. I don't think she had ever worked outside of maybe some MLM kind of things, which she wasn't, which can be very successful and can be very demanding if you go that route. I don't think she had. I think she was just kind of selling some clothes just for entertainment value.
Mhm.
And I remember her, we were in a book group, and I remember her saying one time at book group, she was describing how she had sat on her couch or in her beautiful comfy chair by the window reading during that day. And I thought, what do you mean, like reading on a random Tuesday during the day? That's not allowed. And I completely judged her for it and thought, must be nice to be Lisa, because Lisa gets to lounge around, because Lisa probably, and here goes more judgment. Lisa probably has a maid. Lisa probably has a cook. Lisa probably has a trainer come to her house. Lisa probably has some service pick up her kids from school. Oh, and she probably has a tutor doing the homework with the kids, so she doesn't have to be bothered with all that mothering stuff. So Lisa can just sit around and read enjoyable books and leisure herself all day long. And now, flash forward to present day, I applaud Lisa. Lisa got it right way before so many others. She had
Right.
it figured out before I did, that whatever time she was spending reading in her comfy chair by the window was nourishing her, filling her cup, because she probably didn't have a cook. She probably didn't have a maid. She probably didn't have that service picking up her kids and tending to their needs for the rest of the day. It was her. And she needed to fuel herself so that she could be a better mom later. Like, ding, ding, ding.
Yes, and especially, as mothers, like, women do the majority of the work. Even if their husbands are helpful, they're still going to be the go-to person. And I think that, because they're still Gen Xers raising kids, and now a lot of us are also raising kids and taking care of parents, is that you kind of do need to say to your partner, and your partner say to you, like, I need time every day or a couple times, whatever it is that you
Mm-hmm.
need for myself. And I know you need that too. So we need to figure it out that, like, when I need my book reading time, that you take the kids or you leave me alone, and vice versa. If you want to watch a show or the game or play a video game, I don't care what it
Right.
is. That's your time. And I'm not going to bother you, unless there's a medical emergency or something,
Sure,
like the
sure.
house is on
Yeah.
fire. But I think we need to show each other some grace, because, and women do, need to, because my sister will talk about this sometimes. She has friends who complain about their husband, but their husbands don't do anything. And they're like, well, I'll do everything. Like, well, that's your problem. Like, if
It's
if you're going to
enabling.
do,
Yeah.
why are they going to do it? They're not going to, men love them. They're not going to take the initiative. Like, we need to have conversations, whether it
Yeah.
is with a man, another woman, like we're in a partnership and we each need to give each other
Mm-hmm.
our alone time and our couple time and our family time so that we're not overwhelmed and burned out and thinking we have to do everything alone.
Yeah. And it starts so simply. I mean, for the people who don't advocate for their needs and are the consummate people pleasers, it starts with the tiniest bits of practice. So I've told people, when you go out for coffee with a friend and the friend is looking through that glass case saying, "Ooh, let's split the cronut," and you don't want to, don't say yes to splitting the cronut. This is your opportunity to practice advocating for your needs, saying, I'm not feeling it. I'd rather have the brownie. So if you want the cronut, go get it and bring the rest home. But I don't want that. So I'm not actually going to say yes when I don't mean it.
Right. Boundaries and saying no.
Yeah.
Saying no.
And those simple daily interactions offer opportunities for practice.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I, even as a single girl, I sometimes am like, well, if I don't want to do something, I don't have to do it. Even if I said I wanted to and I changed my mind for whatever reason, because I'm an introvert and my introvertedness is going, we don't have it in the tank. Like, it's okay to say no.
Right. And that's why I gave the meet for coffee example, because that has nothing to do with, married, single, mom, not. Like,
Right.
we all occasionally will have a social interaction that involves someone's making a suggestion. Or when, when the girlfriend says to you, like, "Oh, okay, so we're going out for drinks. I'll pick you up. We'll drive together." If you don't want to do that because you want an out for yourself, say no.
Right.
Say no. That is a safe zone, most likely. I don't think your friend is going to break up with you because you suggest driving separately.
And if they do, then that's more on them.
Ta-da.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
I remember as a kid, my mom, like, we didn't want to go to a party or something. And she's like, just blame it on me. Just say, my parents said I can't go.
Yep.
Now as an adult, I'm like, I can't
Who
do
can
that.
I blame it on?
I kind of wish I
Right.
could.
We have to be more creative with our excuses now.
Yes.
It's good that you have a pet, though. There's always a good pet excuse.
That's true. Or sometimes I just, perimenopause, sometimes it's not, it is a legitimate, I'm like, not feeling it.
And we can look forward to the future where we can actually give honest excuses and not have to be so creative.
I know, right? They say as you get older, you're like, you just say whatever, hopefully with kindness, because sometimes older people nobody wants to be that crotchety old lady.
Like I had an acquaintance years ago who I socialized with in a larger group. And this was back when Evite was really booming. Oh, yes. Everyone put out an Evite for everything. And, you see the responses that are, "Sorry, can't make it. Companies coming in from out of town. Sorry, can't make it. Double booked. I have theater tickets." Sorry, all the things that people would write. This one woman would write, "Can't make it. Have fun." Never an explanation. And again, this was the old judgy me would look at that and think, who does she think she is? Like, she didn't give an excuse. She didn't give a valid explanation as to why she's not going to be at the July 4th barbecue. How dare she behave like that?
Right.
She didn't feel the need to defend herself for not attending something. And again, flash to present day. Good job, Julie. Well done on that, because I wasn't there yet. I get it now.
And I think that's another challenge that women have. Like, we feel like we have to be polite and nice, and we need to show up, or we need to have a really good reason why. And then we feel guilty, even if the reason is like, well, I don't want to go, but I'm not going to tell them that. Like, like maybe your friend throws really terrible parties and you just don't want to go.
Or someone's going that you don't want to see.
Yes. Yeah. And,
it's
and you don't have to be that brutal and be like,
oh, of course not.
But
well, if Susan didn't say she was attending, I would be there, but no thanks.
Right. I mean, if your friend keeps inviting that person and they know you don't like that person, be like, maybe say something, but you can just be like, yeah, sorry, I have a conflict or whatever. But
Right.
we don't have to keep apologizing for our reasonings for
We're
things.
only adding to the stress that we already feel by now layering on this unnecessary guilt, sense of obligation. They didn't put that on us. We did. And I think that we get to a point, hopefully now at this midlife stage, where we say enough is enough. I am responsible for a lot of what I'm feeling. No, I'm not responsible for war and famine and global events, but
Right.
I am responsible for adding in this piece that wasn't there. It wasn't there when someone invited you to something and you said no, and now you feel really bad about it. That's on you.
Yeah, because that person probably isn't mad at you. They're like, oh, okay, you have something else. That's fine.
Yeah,
No big deal. They might be like, well, can we do something another time? And then, but
sure.
yeah, we already have enough stress with working. And if you have kids or if you're taking care of parents or, like you're running a business and doing a podcast or whatever, like that is stress that you can't always control. To add on the guilt and the pressure from things that you do have control over, it does lead to burnout and us going back to the, oh, I got it. All right, I'll just go. And you don't
Yeah,
have, like, I remember my mom used to say too, she'd be like, sometimes she's like, there's, I gotta, I have to, and something else. And like
you
basically
should.
saying there's some things that you do have to go to, like maybe a family event. But
I
she's
was
like,
going to say a
sometimes,
funeral or something.
yeah,
Sure.
like
Yeah.
sometimes she goes, you don't have to go if you don't want to. You just think about whether this is like an obligation I have to fulfill. Maybe it's a work thing or a family thing,
Mhm.
and maybe you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the best expressions I ever learned, and it wasn't necessarily for this context, but I apply it to all areas of my life, is bless and release. Bless and release. Whether it's a person that you no longer want in your life or a burden that you're feeling. Like, I see you, burden. I'm going to let you go. Fly away, bless and release. Thank you for showing up and maybe pointing out something that I I would like to continue looking at. My sense of obligation, my feelings of being tethered to certain people. But I'm going to let you go right now because I would rather watch the series that I'm binging on Netflix than
Right.
go to your barbecue. So thank you. What's
Yeah.
serving me best right now?
Yes. And speaking of what's serving you best, what are your suggestions for women who are like realizing, because I think we sometimes get to the age where like, wait a second, I don't have any hobbies anymore, or I don't do something that I like to do. Like, that can be as simple as just, reading a book, sleeping in,
Mhm.
whatever it is. What are your suggestions to kind of get back to taking a piece of your life that's just for you, something that you just enjoy to do?
Yeah. This is so current for me and my husband because he has been interested in finding new hobbies and not necessarily with me, maybe if it works out, but not necessarily. I've heard, and I'm sure you have, and your listeners have heard people give the advice of think about what you like to do as a kid. Okay, that may or may not work because there are new things out, or maybe there were things that you didn't like doing as a kid that you would like to do now. I did not knit as a child. I very much enjoy knitting now. So, but to put it in the context of, but I did like being creative. I did like
Mhm.
being, I'm not an artist by any stretch of the mind, but I did like doing artsy things. I'm sure you recall fashion plates and
Mhm.
spirograph and some of these
Yes.
old school things and just playing with Play-Doh and clay. Okay, I don't, maybe I'll find myself on a potter's wheel at some point, maybe not, but it's this idea that I did like kind of tactile, crafty things. So it was getting back into that by way of knitting. I taught myself to crochet years ago. Uh, Things like that. Maybe it's you watch a lot of Food Network, but do you do food stuff? So maybe it's playing around in the kitchen, and maybe it evolves to finding a Facebook group dedicated to that, or finding something in your town. I mentioned the knitting thing because it has been in my life for many years and it comes and goes. But I recently was searching I think I just Googled knitting group in my area or near me, whatever
Mhm.
Google chose to type in for me.
Right.
And lo and behold, there is I think they call it fiber arts, a
Oh,
fiber arts, fiber crafts group that meets at my local library. Now, other than one other woman, everyone is over 75. That's fine. That's fine. My daughter even said to me, old people are fun. Old people are cool. Just go and see what it's all about. And I dragged my big project to the room at the library and I sat with a bunch of old people and had a lovely hour. Are these my new best friends? I don't know. Remains to be seen. Could be.
yeah.
Or it's just a pleasant way to spend an hour that is unattached from every other obligation of my life. So thinking about, if you were to flip through a magazine or I don't want to say scrolling anything, but if you were looking at images, reading a book and someone in the book does something that sounds interesting to you. I
Mhm.
just read a novel. I'm sure it was a Jennifer Weiner or something or other, Weiner, I don't remember. But the chick lit books. And the
Mhm.
main character is a big bike rider. That does not interest me. Doesn't at all. But that character was big into biking.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like we're presented with other people's hobbies all the time. And it's just making the decision to try something out and say, does this fit? No? All right. What else is there? My oldest friend from childhood, big into pickleball. I know a lot of people are. And I was like, I don't want to do. I'm resisting. I don't know why. And she was just on my back about it. Like, well, if you played, then the next time you visit me in Miami, we could play. But since you don't play, I get, there was a bit of a guilt thing. I will, but friendly guilt.
Yeah.
But then I was like, all right, enough is enough. Why am I continuously saying no to this when let me just see for myself if this could be fun. So
Yeah,
I
because
took
you
a
never know.
pickleball lesson. Right. It's just like, my husband wants to sail. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to do that with him, but he's signed up. Great. Good for him.
Yeah.
There's there's stuff out there. And even if it is as simple as sitting on the comfy chair and reading a book or opening up that cookbook that someone gave you as a gift,
Yes.
what can you do that is disconnected, unattached from obligation?
And I love that you point out that just because you have, you're married, have a partner, whatever, however you classify it, that you don't have to do the same things all the
Mm,
time.
mm,
Like,
mm, mm.
yeah, I mean, because
No.
it's alone time, there's nothing wrong. And like you go out with your friends, sometimes they go out with their friends, whatever you do. And if like uh, last week, there's a company called Time Left, and it's having dinner with strangers. And I've done it a couple times last year, but
Wow.
I haven't done it well because I was feeling for a while. I was like, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm like, okay, I need to get out of my house. And I met four other women at a dinner. Like, we had the nicest time. We've all connected, like, because you have to connect through the app. And it was just so everyone had interesting stories. Some of us, had been married, divorced. Some of us had kids. Some of us didn't. Um, and and also, it was just nice because they make sure it's like around the same age. Because here in Atlanta, I've only lived here since 2019. I've gone to things where I'm like, and we were talking about this at the dinner. We're like the oldest people in the room,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
nothing against 20 somethings, but I've been there already,
Yeah.
and
Yep. Different
yeah.
stage. Yep.
I don't want to relive that.
Yep.
Thank you very
Yep.
much. Nor do I want to be like, well, when I was 20, I don't,
Right. Right.
so
No, 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 no.
it's
It's
just
not a good
nice.
dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really nice. And hopefully we will all get together again. And,
I
we
love
were
that.
sharing different life experiences. And yeah, it was nice to do that. And I think sometimes looking up Meetup or Instagram, or like there are apps and things to find book clubs, etc. And just trying it. If you don't like it, you don't have to go back, or maybe you try a different group. And but it is important to do stuff for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I
'Cause
mean, it's so basic. And so, I mean, even like I go back to my library because I love the library, and they have people will bring stacks of magazines from their home. Like if you just want to get rid of magazines, they have this magazine shelf.
oh, wow.
And I will go and grab magazines and make collages at home. I'm big on, I mean, I call them vision boards. So that's, it's my like grown up collage terminology. But
Yeah.
honestly, like they become my journals. I'll take a composition notebook and I collage outside,
Oh, nice.
inside, I do the back. And that is such a fun little activity for me that by myself in my house. I mean, sometimes I try to get my daughter to do it. She's not interested. So it's not about that. I'm doing this for me, and it's fun and creative and full of expression.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I miss
yeah,
the days when like magazines were like in our childhood,
right, right.
like Teen and Young Miss and
Yep.
whatever, and
Sassy YM.
Sassy pouring over. I mean, like when
Yep.
you're younger, it was like the Teen Bop and whatever to get the
Mm.
posters of
Tiger Beat. Yep.
Pablo.
Yep.
But yeah, just as a teen, like pouring over those magazines and
Yeah.
like tearing stuff out because you're like, I want to get this, or putting on your wall, or just reading about other things and then sharing that with your friends. I feel bad that kids don't get to experience
I
that,
know.
or like going to a music store, because that was a whole fun adventure.
Yes. And it's funny because I was watching a show, and I'm not going to say what because I don't want to be judged for watching an inappropriate show with my daughter. But we were watching a show on Netflix that is 20 plus years old. So in the show, they mention things like going to Sam Goody or something, Tower Records. And I'm now telling her stories, the local record store in my mall near my house. That's where you went for concert tickets. You had to
Mhm.
stand in line, and maybe they had them, maybe they didn't. But these things, and going to the record store, and like the posters that were hanging in those holders, like the rugs at Home Goods, like just flipping through
Mhm.
posters. And it was an experience.
Yeah.
And so it was funny that came up on a show because she was like, "What's Sam Goody?" It's like, oh God.
Yeah, I know. Like at
Yeah.
least I will say at least bookstores are still around. Like
Thank
I
God.
there's someone that I randomly found on YouTube who lives here, and she's definitely younger than me, but she keeps going to all these little bookstores. I'm like, oh, I
Mm,
need to go there. Like, cause I used to love just wandering the aisles and
yeah.
seeing a book, the visual of it. I'm like, oh, and then I would just discover really cool authors, and at least we still have that. But and I know there are some record stores like vintage, but it's
Right.
never going to be what it was, because that was a
No.
whole just it really was like it was something you're doing something for yourself, or you'd go with your friends and you would like get to listen to things and discover things and share things. And now it's just
Yeah.
like, yes, you can find anything at your fingertips, but it's the discovery part of it I feel like is really missing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that instant gratification versus the process.
Yeah, yeah, because even like as much as I love binging shows, sometimes I'm like, oh, it's nice when they were just once a week, and I know, like, Apple does that, but, like, because sometimes I'll watch the whole season,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then the next season, like, "What happened? I don't remember."
Yeah. 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 I know.
Yeah,
I know.
it's,
I don't miss commercials, but
yeah, well, I mean, as someone in advertising, I miss the good commercials from, like, when we were, a kid and teenage, like, they were so memorable, and
it's true that there were things that were so iconic,
yeah,
like Jeffrey, the Toys R Us giraffe. Like there were
yeah.
things that I said to my daughter something the other day about Grimace, like the McDonald's characters.
Right.
And I was like, don't you know? I mean, we don't go to McDonald's, but just from the commercials, like that's where those characters were.
Mhm.
And she had she was like, oh, I think I know what you mean. It's like, kind of looks like Barney or whatever. Um, yeah, it was like those things that were just the like Mike and
Yep.
that just were part of
That, like, are
childhood.
part of
Yeah.
our nostalgia, and they were part of, like, the culture, and I don't it makes me sad because 'cause I'm in advertising that, like, really ads and granted, a lot of people don't watch TV, or it's, like, appointment television, that the creativity is not there, and the cultural moments are just, even the Super Bowl commercials. Like I still watch, I mean, I love football, but I really watch for the commercials. And I'm like, really, people, you spent this amount of money just so you could hang out with a celebrity?
We always say that. I mean, the fact all of them had celebrities this past year, which was really disappointing. Like that's what it takes to make. Now, some of them were good. Like I love the Dunk Kings and,
Yeah.
you know, my favorite commercial almost ever is the Smart Pack. And it's, I don't know.
Yes.
I'm from the Boston area. So Smart Pack would be, and it had Chris Evans and Rachel Dratch and John Krasinski. Like, so it's full of celebrities. But isn't there such thing as just like kids going to the toy store?
I mean,
except that there aren't toy stores. Like, that's the problem.
I'm like, okay, so in the brainstorm, is it either the client that's like, we want a celebrity, or the creatives are like, okay, we have all this money. Who is a celebrity we've always wanted to work with?
Right.
So, which I get, because I did my first job was in promotional advertising, and Coca-Cola was one of the clients I worked on, and we got to do a video with SportsCenter. And so I got to hang out with like Stuart Scott and way before he got sick and passed away, and Trey Wingo. And that was so cool. I was like writing copy for them. I was so nervous because they had these iconic
That's pretty
things.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It's still one of my favorite memories, also because they were making fun of the client, and the client didn't realize.
That's good.
So it was kind of a little like thing we had. But yeah, it just, so I get the need to that. But yeah, it's I feel like the cultural touchstones that we had as Gen X, that when we all can get together and talk about, or if you watch videos and people will just quote things, you're like, I can say that right back. I know what ad they're,
where's the beef and things like that.
Yeah, don't squeeze the Charmin. Time to make the donuts. Yeah. Calgon, take me away.
Yes. I'm going to wash that gray right out of my hair. Yeah.
Or like the herbal essence, where they were like, I remember like going, that's a little racy for
that was very racy.
Yes.
That felt uncomfortable. Yeah.
Well, the way the world is now, like, it would be nice if my shampoo made me feel that way, or if I had Calgon to like take me away, because it's just
all the time. Double mint.
Oh my God, the Doublemint twins. Yeah.
Those were good.
Yes.
But so to your listeners who are struggling to find hobbies or connection or relief from the obligation, there's so much nostalgia out there.
Yes.
Go pour over Gen X memorabilia. There's books, there's groups, like you said, meetup kind of things. There's podcasts to listen to. There are, go be your younger self and get a spirograph. Get some silly putty, be the kid to use someone else's advice of thinking back to the things that you enjoyed. But there's so much fun stuff that you could do or get immersed in that has to do with our generation.
Definitely. I mean, it's fun to see Gen X influencers, or there's this woman, Melanie, who started the We Do Not Care Club for women in perimenopause and menopause. And she's like kind of blown up everywhere. And I found her, like, she had like 2 glasses on and like paper clip, and it started this whole community. And like, even that, sometimes social media is bad as it can be. Sometimes you can find your people on there that you start having conversations. And I know there's like different We Do Not Care clubs in different areas, and people are talking, and it's sometimes that's just start somewhere.
Yeah.
And have fun with it, because it doesn't have to be stressful, right? That's the thing too. I think some people go like, okay, I get like their type A personality, like, okay, I need a hobby, and it has to be, and like, just have fun. We don't have enough fun.
That's exactly it. I mean, go to your local grocery store, Target, get a pad of construction paper and a package of crayons, and just color.
Yeah.
Like, just sit down and spend some time with yourself and do that. Get a coloring book, or I don't know, a board game, play cards, play solitaire with yourself, like do something. And who knows, maybe you'll end up finding a board game community as a result of it. But at the very least,
go to the dog park, or I love to be outside, even though right now it's so hot and takes the joy out of it.
Yes.
But sometimes, yeah, go for a walk. Even if you're on your lunch break, take 15 minutes and get out. Because it's true, being outside really does make you feel better. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to, I mean, you can still feel crappy, but like you will, I've always noticed that when I just 15 minutes outside, I'm like, wow, I feel so much better to go face the rest of my day.
Yeah. I mean, it is, people are always surprised at how nice and friendly other people are once they start talking to people and strangers. They always are. They always were. You just didn't notice. So the next time you're walking around Home Goods and picking up mugs or spices, talk, look who else is in the aisle doing the same thing. I don't know. Maybe that person also likes to cook, and now you can find out what they're doing with pumpkin pie spice, and now you've got yourself a hobby and a friend.
Yeah. No, those are all such great ideas and great suggestions. Thank you so much. This has been so interesting. If anybody wants to, of course, I'll have it in the show notes as always, but if anybody, is there a best place to reach out to you or start a conversation with you?
Yeah, I would say either Instagram or my website, and both of them lead to the other. So Jentle Coaching, gentle with a J for Jenny, gentlecoaching.com, Jentle Coaching on Instagram, and both of those have access to my podcast. So there's a fluidity to it to make it easier for people.
Nice. Well, thank you again. This was such a great conversation, so fun. And yes, follow Jenny's advice. Go find something fun to do. Don't be afraid to say no. Boundaries are a good thing. We all need more boundaries.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Gen X podcast, and thank you to Jenny for being my guest. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. As you guys know, whether you've listened to one episode or all of them, I love chatting with my fellow Gen Xers. I mean, I love doing the solo episodes too, and you guys seem to love those. But I really love getting a chance to chat with Gen X. That's why I started this podcast. Everyone has such interesting stories. It's so cool to share our unique commonalities and our differences and just hear different perspectives and, mix that in with a bit of nostalgia. So thank you again to Jenny for being a fabulous guest. I hope you guys listen and take her advice about finding something that you love to do without guilt, setting boundaries. I know as we get older, it's harder to have hobbies, especially in midlife when we're juggling so many things, but take time out for yourself. It doesn't have to be hours and hours. Make time for yourself. It's really important. It refreshes you. It's good for your mental health. And it's just a great way to connect with yourself, with that inner child, or just to find some space where you're not thinking about work and kids and family and this and that. And we have plenty of time to think about that. So thank you again for tuning in. I think this concludes our series. There might be another podcast. I don't know, but just stay tuned. And coming up in August, I'm sorry. No, yes, coming up in August. What month are we in? Coming up in August, I have some surprises coming up. Maybe chatting with some Gen X influencers. So stay tuned for that. And without further ado, I'm going to finish this podcast the way I finish every podcast. My fellow Gen Xers, don't you forget about me, because I won't forget about you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the GenX Experience. If today's episode resonated with you, please consider sharing it on social media or with a friend. We'll see you back here next time.